What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Flying solo this morning. Full disclaimer, gang. Rough night. Not what you're thinking, but we got some kind of stomach bug. It was hitting yesterday. So hopefully we can get through a 40-minute show here at least and talk a little ball. But if we have to end it abruptly, then I'm trying not to throw up on the keyboard. All right, so we got a little sodium in the system this morning, some electrolytes, and just trying to power through here. But obviously, this time of year, you get a lot of stuff going around. So just letting y'all know, we'll see if we can get through this entire thing. I know we got a bunch of people in the chat already. We're going to get to that. First things first. Let's give a quick shout out to good folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since '92, specializing in Packers tickets. They are Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Just click on the link in the video description that'll send you to theticketking.com where you can register for free as a customer and go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. We appreciate them supporting us here at Packers Total Access. So the big story of the day, obviously everybody already talking about it in the chat. We're going to dive into all of it. And I got a couple of these marked here. I want to do a full disclaimer here and kind of set some rules, some guidelines, if you will. The Romeo Doubs thing, right? We don't know the entire situation. So it's important to say that. It's important to mention that we don't know what he's going through exactly. Is there a chance it's one of those situations where an athlete is just kind of being a professional athlete? And, you guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes these guys, they kind of get in their own head and it's, I'm not getting mine, that type of thing. It could be that. That could be the case. But also it could be something on a personal level that kind of triggered it, right? You guys know I've spoken very openly, especially when it comes to veterans. Having, veterans, friends that have served in the military, and obviously my brother served in Desert Storm. Personal mental health is an issue. It could be that. I don't want to stamp Romeo with that either. Okay. So just understand, anything I say here, I'm not saying definitively this is what it is. We're just going to have a conversation about it. And all I ask is everybody in the chat, and I know our listeners are awesome at this, our viewers, let's respect him until we get all the details, but we're going to give you all the information that we do have at this point, okay? And I want to let everybody draw their own conclusion. That makes sense. Is that fair enough? So we'll handle it that way, and I'll try to hit on some of these in the chat as well as we go along. So let's talk about the information. First things first, okay? So Rob Westerman was actually the reason that I seen this last night, and it was as soon as we got off the air, when we, ended the stream last night, he had tweeted out, wow, Romeo Doubs has been skipping practice because he's frustrated about the lack of opportunities he's receiving within the offense, per Bill Huber. Now, you start to read that and you go, okay, is this real or not? First of all, Rob Westerman is as good as they come over at GBP Daily. Just a stand-up dude, honest, straightforward. He just one of the best guys I've had the privilege of meeting since doing podcasting and just having conversations out there. Just an awesome human being, okay? So when he mentions Bill Huber, guys, that's a legit source, Now, I'm sure just like anybody who covers a team, there are some people that don't like Bill, just like there's some people that don't like me, right? That kind of comes with the territory when it comes to talking ball. Now, you guys know I'm always going to lead with I'm a fan, all right? I'm not a professional journalist. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a beat reporter. I'm not anybody trying to crack into the national sports media. I'm simply a Packer fan talking Packers. That's all we do here, okay? So I always want to mention that. But Bill Huber is a guy who's been covering the team for a very long time. If we play this video, you guys have heard us play this several times here. Let's just go ahead and hit it.
Rodgers, who the only place he's going to take you to is the toilet bowl. And then you got Brett Favre, who will take you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just saying, we're not going to talk about it.
You can actually see Bill Huber in the background there. That's how long he's been covering the Packers, right? So it's not like this is just someone on Twitter saying, hey, I heard this, right? So he obviously wrote an article. That's kind of the basis for what we're going to talk about, all right? And listen, some of the information he got might not be 100% accurate. Let's don't hold that against Bill. Bill's reporting what he has heard, right? That's why I say we all need to give each other a little bit of grace when it comes to this type of stuff. And especially the player, especially Dobbs, because we don't know, again, exactly what all's going on. We need to, I think, in 2024, we need to be a group of people that give people the benefit of the doubt rather than just jumping down their throat and saying all. I mean, there's some ugly tweets on Twitter about this, and I just don't understand it. It's like we don't even know all the facts yet, so let's kind of cool it with that. So let's expand a little bit, okay? Father Son Packer podcast. If you guys don't follow them, go give them a follow at Father Son Packer. They do a podcast together. It's a lifelong Packer fan and his son. It's a really cool podcast. They quoted from the article, quote, Dobbs practiced on Wednesday but didn't show up on Thursday. Worried about Dobbs' well-being, team representatives found him at his home. And I heard found him at his home. I'm like, oh, no, what do you mean found him at his, like, was he unconscious? That's the first thing I thought, right? But it goes on and says, seems like Dobbs, quote, no call, no showed the team. So, in other words, Rome just kind of, it said there's other reports and part of this this article from Bill Huber that, suggests that he is unhappy with his role on the team. Now, from a football standpoint, forget the human being for a second. Let's just look at it strictly from snaps and things like that. And you look at it like that, I mean, I think he's got the second most targets on the team. So not a whole lot to be upset about there. I will say this, if we were to read between the lines a little bit, you guys remember the Musgrave tip pass for an interception? One of the things that could have it definitely didn't help the situation was when we seen it live, I thought, Musgrave, I don't know, was it a bad throw from Love? Musgrave ran the wrong route, maybe, is kind of what it looked like he was running into Dobbs' space. But then you heard Matt LaFleur after the postgame, in the postgame press conference, what did Coach LaFleur say? He said, no, Dobbs is supposed to stay vertical and run kind of a post. It's a high-low read. Now, Dobby gets rerouted, and he kind of bends it out and comes back around. Matt said, hey, yeah, it was on Dobbs running the wrong route. It's also on Love for bad distribution because he was trying to hit Dobbs, who was now in the wrong spot. And, of course, Musgrave thinks, hey, that ball's coming to him, so he tries to leap up, grab it, tips. If you watch Dobby on that play, he's visibly upset. And I don't have that play triggered. I'm not going to go comb through and try to find it. That's not the point of this whole segment here. But if he's frustrated in that game because things like that happen, even though he might have been at fault and Love might have been at fault on the same play, that's the thing that some fans lose sight of is sometimes two things can be true, right? That's what I've been talking about with the pass rushes. It's not just the pass rush sucks. There's other things being coached. There's other game plans in place, whether it's a scrambling quarterback or a dynamic running back that's going to slow some of that stuff down. There's a lot of things that come into factor. If that makes sense. But the fact that he was visibly kind of ticked off on the field going back to the sideline, and then Matt LaFleur makes the comment after the game like, no, that's kind of on Dobby there too. Maybe that kind of, I don't know, had an effect on it as well, if that makes sense. So now here's where it gets interesting. And this is so 2024. We talked about this with Jair Alexander last year. And when this happened, everybody jumped down my throat because I reported Jair Alexander scrubbed his Instagram of all Packer stuff. Well, that's stupid. He does it every year. It doesn't mean anything. Well, a couple of weeks later, he was suspended from the team. Now, those people that said I was stupid for reporting that, obviously, you can't find them now. They have nothing else to say about the matter. But similar thing has happened with Dobby. You see it says no post yet. He scrubbed his Instagram of all Packers, every post in general, but you can imagine the majority of them are about the Green Bay Packers. So what does that mean? I don't know. I try to work off precedent, what has happened in the past, rather than what do I think is happening. And anytime a player has done this in the past, I haven't seen one situation where it didn't come back to, the players ticked off at the team. Not one. Jair was that one that people were standing on the table going, it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't mean anything. And then lo and behold, it did mean something, right? And obviously Jair ends up getting suspended. And that seemed to straighten that situation out. Now, I'm not suggesting they should suspend Romeo Dobbs. First and foremost, make sure he's all right, because, again, you never know where people's mentals are. I mean, you don't know what's going on in their personal life. So you lead with that. And then if it does come down to, no, I'm ticked off, I need the ball more, it's about me, you guys should already know watching this show how I feel about that situation. Like there's no one above the team, right? And again, time will tell whether Dobbs, that applies there or not. Now I'm going to mention this next thing that's probably going to be a little bit controversial, okay? And I want everybody to understand this isn't my personal opinion. This is just simply something that was reported. And it's reported by a person that many people would say is kind of a controversial figure because he is someone that's drummed up kind of negative with the Packers before. When I say drummed up, not just out of thin air, listen, I was hard on Bob McGinn for a long time. A large majority of the stuff he reported ended up being 100% factual. So you got to take that into consideration when we talk Bob McGinn. So here it is. All right. So every year Bob McGinn does a piece on the NFL draft, and he talks to scouts and how they feel about certain prospects. It seems like every year he tries to put together a piece, and I don't follow him that closely, but he tries to put together a piece on here are the players the Packers drafted. Here's what scouts said. I talked to them before the draft. Here's what they said about that specific player type thing. Maybe he goes after the draft and talks to them. That would make a little more sense logistically, but here's what this little piece says here, okay? Quote, I was just like, this is bad, Dobbs says. Quote, once you have more than one person with the same mentality or the same exact mindset against one person, explaining doesn't help anything. You've got to live with it, and then whatever persona they put on you, let it be on you. He's not exaggerating, one AFC scout told our draft analyst Bob McGinn that he deemed Dobbs, quote, mentally frail. And that sounds pretty harsh, right? But some people report this way, So it says before then adding, quote, he wigged out at the combine. He had so much anxiety and apprehension that he stayed in his room and never came out. Did not participate in the combine. After the initial day, he never came out. That was very much a concern that our scouts had. He's probably no better than a third day guy at best. Now, whether you think that's fair or not, that's a real issue that if someone's not willing to meet with the teams, not willing to work out all those things, they're going to look at a player that way. It's, again, right, wrong, or indifferent, it's a red flag. If you've got an employee, if you've got a group of people that you're looking to hire for a business, for a company, and you go through the interviewing process, and one of the people, it's like they show you, hey, look, I might not be cut out for this. I might not be able to handle the stress of it. And the others don't have that red flag, and the talent is equal across the board, or at least equal, close enough that it's not going to say, all right, I'd rather take that guy over this guy because he's way more talented. It's going to have a factor. That's just everyday life. And again, whether you think Bob McGinn and these guys were being too harsh in this article, I think it is worth mentioning that this was something that happened. It said other scouts offered versions of the same takeaway. So you got multiple sources through that process. It says word of an, quote, anxiety attack spread. I've known people who have anxiety attacks. They are not fun. I mean, you're talking about a situation where it feels like the entire world closes in on you. That's why I'm trying to lean on the side of sympathy here. Just be sympathetic towards Romeo. If that's something he's dealing with, again, it may not even apply here. I'm just kind of throwing out all the different angles that people are mentioning. So that's all I know on the situation right now. And I just uncovered this little bit right here right before we went live. And I thought, man, that's kind of interesting. And I don't mention that to put Dobbs down. I mention it to kind of defend him a little bit. Like, hey, hold up. We don't know the entire situation. We don't know his upbringing. I mean, if I remember correctly, he was raised in a rough part of California, right? Listen, I experienced stuff as a kid, and stuff sticks with you. I grew up in a biker family. I'll just leave it at that. And the initial reaction should always, provide grace for people. That's all I'm saying, right? But again, it's a big topic. We need to hit it. We covered it. That's everything I know on the situation. Let's go to the chat. And again, I'm going to be really, really careful. You may see a little dead air because I don't want to put anything up that might be inappropriate. Okay, I got a few marked from earlier before I even started talking here. Omer in the chat said, good morning, PTA family. Hope everyone is well today. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way in today. Appreciate that, Omer. Good to see you in here, pal. We got Greg in the house. Good morning, Clayton. Good morning to you, sir. Let's see, Damon Stewart. Man, this Dobbs thing really caught me off guard. Same here, Damon. Same here, buddy. It was out of nowhere. Nick McSwain in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Chad Inc. In my opinion, this is a bigger problem than Dobbs not happy with the game plan. I think it could be mental health issue and is coming out in the wrong way because he may be scared of talking about it. It's a great point, Chad. It's what we kind of hit on. Again, if anybody knows any, and I know Dobbs isn't a veteran, it's just the thing that I've been experienced to the most is having friends and family who have served in the military. You know, you feel like you're weak if you come forward and say something, right? And again, we don't know if that's the case with Dobbs. It could be he's just upset he's not getting targeted more. It could be that, right? Professor Cake says, really annoys me. I see fans out there blaming Matt LaFleur, saying, quote, I don't blame Romeo for being a diva because Matt LaFleur acts like one. Like what? I'm absolutely flabbergasted. Here's what I would suggest you do with those people on Twitter. Unfollow them, mute them, block them, whatever, and just move on. Most of the time you can search their Twitter page, just type in Matt LaFleur, and you will see the very first negative comment they posted about him. And 9 times out of 10, same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Everybody loved Aaron until the year of COVID, right? And everything that happened there. You can go back through people's timeline and find nothing negative on Aaron until that happened. Now all of a sudden he's bad at football. He sucks. He's a horrible human being, all those things. But I'm telling you, man, the more time I spend on Twitter, it makes it a more enjoyable experience is if you just mute and block people and move on. There's no sense in arguing. And if they want to call you weak for doing it, so be it, so be it. Let's see here. Let's go. I'm going to kind of fire some of these from the hip. Hopefully we don't get too nothing inappropriate here. All right. Ron Sanville, what is difficult is there isn't a shortage of Dobbs level receivers. If it's mental problems, it's one thing, but this could be a big negative mark on his career. It's true, Ron. It's not like Rome has like separated himself from other receivers. I think he's been a good receiver. You guys know I was very vocal last year. I felt like going into last year, we had a team full of number 2 receivers. And what I mean is them grading out, them performing at a level that they could be the number 2 receiver on a team. And when I say number 2, I don't mean, all right, they're just going to get the second amount of touches. Touches come from specific schematics, game planning, things like that. That's what many people overlook. I'm talking about number 1 receiver that's going to get paid top 10 money at that position. That's really what determines whether someone's a number 1 receiver or not, in my opinion. If they're a true number 1 receiver, they're going to get paid. If Romeo hit the market, I don't think he would get paid like a number 1 receiver. I think he would probably get paid like a second or maybe third receiver. And I think he's one of the best number 2 receivers in the league because he can play in that phone booth. He can make contested catches. We've seen him, those back shoulder fades. Guys, that's an important weapon to have when you're in the red zone, especially with the team whose red zone numbers struggle offensively. So, but yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I think it could be a big negative mark on his career. Hopefully, if it is mental health, it doesn't, because that kind of sucks, obviously. But let's see. Nick McSwain trying to focus on the positive. You're crazy, dude. Philip Rue can't judge. He still has most targets and 2 less receptions. Maybe Love. St. Reed was open and he was second. Maybe talking about his first read, I imagine there. I don't know. I think it's a little deeper than that, me personally. But, yeah, we'll kind of see how it shakes out. Prince says Heath was getting all the targets in the last couple of preseason games, and he and DeBosa's interaction wasn't as being reported. Okay. All right. So you guys get the gist of it, right? That's kind of what we wanted to hit on here. Let's go to Duke on Twitter. Good to see you in here, Duke. He says, sounds like the issue is leaning towards his mental health. He's always seemed like a team guy, but I could see where his role, which is leaning towards more snaps blocking than catching, could be his gripe. The thing I noticed last year too, Duke, was where he plays boundary X, I feel very comfortable saying Romeo Doubs ran more go routes than anyone. Now let's kind of put ourselves in Romeo Doubs' shoes for a minute. And I've thought about this because, listen, I'm not in the best of shape, as you can tell. But if your primary job is every single play you're going to run a go route and you're not getting the ball a significant amount of times, that's exhausting. And I could show you, if you go to last year's tape and even the year before, it was boundary X, run a go, run a go, run a go. Sprinting down the field 30, 40, 50 yards. 2 or 3 times a drive and not getting the ball, I can understand frustration. I'm not saying they should force him the ball. Don't get me wrong, but that's not the best job, right? And you got, a couple other people whose kind of primary read is a choice route where it's a sit or a dig. You're reading the DB, whether they're playing tight or off, inside, out, and they run a sit, get the ball, get 8 yards, first down, signal it, crowd's going wild, and you're coming back to the huddle catching your breath because you just ran your 17th go route. You know what I mean? So it could be some of that too. But nonetheless, man, that's what you sign up for, obviously. And I'm sure Romeo Doubs would say that too. It's just sounds like he may be frustrated with his ability there, right? Like his role within, his role within the offense. Professor Cakes, oh hogwash. Clayton, your physique would make Greek gods jealous. You add in jelly in there, maybe that would apply a little bit more than jealous there, my friend. But, yeah. So, Damon Stewart said he's cleaning it up. He said, I officially unfollowed a Facebook Packer page. It was 98% negative. I've had to do it too. I won't mention the name of it. You'd be surprised if you found out which one it was. But, man, Facebook, I found, is just as toxic as Twitter. Those people, it was just constantly negative posts, negative posts, negative posts, negative posts. I'm like, why am I giving myself this brain damage following this account? It just makes no sense. So, but yeah, understand, man. All right. Yeah. Appreciate you, Duke. Love tuning in when I get a chance. Yeah. I know life's busy, man. Life's crazy, but we appreciate you swinging through. Jen Wright, there you go. I'm glad somebody else the same way, Jen. I don't Facebook for that reason. Yeah. And it's kind of surprising to me because that seems like the more personal app. Twitter, people create a fake name, don't put their real picture up, and then just run around being toxic and think they're funny, but Facebook, you get into some of those groups, it gets ugly. Let's see what Casey says here. Casey says it just doesn't make sense. Quote, I want more targets, but I'm not going to show up when we are down a receiver. Here's something, Casey, I want to kind of expound upon that. Let me make a note here real quick so I don't forget. Let's see. Let me put this down real quick. So one of the things that was said too was he was at practice Wednesday, right? So if he's at practice, and listen, guys, I know somebody's going to get pissed off because we're just, kind of spitballing here, but don't tune into a sports talk show and get mad that you're getting sports talk and people giving their opinions and maybe it could be this. All right. If that's you, I can't help you. But if that was the case, think about this. He was at practice on Wednesday. Think about what we said happened on the game on Sunday, right? And the frustration you could see there. And then he was at practice Wednesday. Well, typically Wednesdays when the game plan is installed. Now, sometimes it can get pushed up a touch. Sometimes it can get pushed back a touch, whether it's, hey, you got to win and you got a day off, or maybe it was a bad loss and they want to kind of amp up the game plan earlier and get a step on that. And when I say game plan, it doesn't mean the practice schedule changes, but it might be that the game plan is installed earlier. Everybody's got it in their tablets. Everybody's got it good to go, and they can go out and begin to really press into it. But he was at practice Wednesday. The game plan is typically installed on Wednesday. Or if you've seen the game plan and didn't like it, I mean, think about all the touches that Dontavion Wicks got, right? That kind of lines up. And again, we don't have any hard evidence proof, but that does kind of line up. So that makes sense. But if you guys would take a quick second, hit that like button for us. Feel free to sub to the channel. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If everybody hearing my voice sub to the channel, we would torch our goals. But we do appreciate y'all making us part of your Saturday morning. It's college football going to be getting kicked off here soon. So, but Casey, I kind of see where you're coming from there, man. I understand what you mean. It's like you're down a receiver with Christian being hurt, more opportunity. But the fact that it came after Wednesday does kind of got me leaning towards maybe he didn't like the game plan. I don't know, though. Time will tell, right? Maybe he'll be playing Sunday. Now you go off a precedent. Obviously, Jair Alexander did something kind of similar last year. He, rather than missing time, he was just walking around the facility being toxic, and then obviously made himself a captain. I don't mean to laugh, but I've been watching football a long time, and I'd never seen a player make themselves team captain. That cracked me up. I apologize. Let me get a drink here. So, I don't know. This feels a little different. Now, if it is mental health issue, and I think the team would be very, very understanding of that. If Dobby shows up and go, hey man, I freaked out, I'm sorry, that type of thing, that's way different than going to the media and trying to get stuff stirred up like we seen last year with Jair. Now, here's what I say about precedent. The precedent suggests somebody does this type of thing and it's not like mental health related. Goody came down pretty hard on Jair. It'd been real easy to go, okay, let's put it behind us. No, he's suspending him for a game. That suspension, you think Goody wanted to suspend one of his best defensive players? He did. But that suspension, what it does, it's more so, let's put this out here for everybody. I'm not playing any games, right? Like, this will not be tolerated. I hope that's not the case here, like I said, with Dobbs, but we will see. So, all right, so let's get back to talking football, okay? Again, I wanted to hit on that because I thought it was important. It's obviously the talk of the town right now. It's going around. And just wanted to kind of give you guys, to the best of my knowledge, what we know are facts, okay? So, again, take it how you wish. We gave you all the sources, everything like that. So, for the most part. Now, we don't know who told Bill Huber that, but that's a question for him, not me, obviously. But all right, so up next on the docket here, let's talk some defensive linemen. So people are going, oh, God, here's the pass rush again. What we try to do on this show is we try to find out what happened and why did it happen, right? And the big talking point has been, where has been the pass rush? Now, you got some people that have really, really leaned and pressed into these guys are playing horrible. You've got other people that are more along the lines of it's within the game plan is why it's not a big deal at all. Everything's just fine. This is a part of the game. And then you got people like me that are kind of in the middle. I can see snaps on tape. And I'm like, man, that was a bad rep. Ooh, that was rough. And I can see other snaps where you can go schematically, hey, yeah, he was definitely not getting after the quarterback there. There was something told to him, hey, let's play it this way type thing, right? So let's kind of look at some of the numbers here first. And again, we treat it on this show, there's no specific statistic that's more important than the tape, period, case closed. There's a human being that's grading this stuff and coming up with statistics for the most part. So one of the things that I really struggle with is pass rush win rate, right? Who determined that rep was a pass rush win? If you give me a name attached to it, all right, cool. Now I've got something to work with. I can grade the grader, like Michael Lombardi and other people always say. If you're saying it's just true analytics, okay, how is it analytics? Are they using the GPS tracking and they beat their player in a certain amount of time? Even if they beat them in a certain amount of time, the ball already came out. That doesn't matter either. Why would that be determined as a pass rush win? But it is a statistic. It is a metric we can use. And again, all information, in my opinion, is good information. Put it all in the pot, watch the tape, and that's going to kind of come out with, okay, here's what we've got, right? That's the way I look at it. So this chart here that we're showing, it came from at FBall_insights. It's defensive interior pass rush. Let me just kill my cam so y'all ain't see me over here like Two-Face. Defensive interior pass rush win versus run stop percentage. I love the idea of this chart. And again, with pass rush win rate, is that statistic flawed at times? It could be. Let's pretend like it's never flawed for this exercise purpose right here, okay? So running vertically on the left of this chart, you've got pass rush win rate. And then running horizontally along the bottom, you have run stop rate, okay? So, and with run stop, some people specify it differently. I'm pretty sure run stop in this case is 2 yards or less. In some cases, it's either no gain or tackled for a loss, but you get the gist of it, okay? Run stop, how effective is somebody at stopping the run? How effective is someone at winning their pass rush? That's essentially what we're looking at here, okay? So looking at it, there's 3 Packer players, to the best of my knowledge, that's popping up on this chart. You guys correct me in the chat if you see a different one. If I'm looking at this correctly, okay? Here's what we got. So at the top of this chart, depending on how you want to look at it, but hands down, Devontae White has been the most effective interior defensive lineman that we've had this year, okay? And here's why I say that. He's coming in, it looks like, right at 12% run stop rate, according to the chart on the bottom. So he's pretty far he's the farthest Packer to the right, obviously. And then vertically with pass rush win rate, he's just above the average line, I believe is what that is, which is somewhere between 8 and 9% is what it looks like, okay? So his pass rush win rate, somewhere between 8 and 9%, according to the chart, and then sitting right at 12% on run stop rate. He is our best defensive lineman with those two metrics as the season sits right now. Second is actually TJ Slayton. TJ Slayton is just above the line, all right? Just above the average line, somewhere probably, if I had to guess, probably closer to 8 than 9% with pass rush win rate, but he's below the average line at somewhere around 6%, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Yeah, probably no, a little less than 6% on run stop rate. So you can kind of see, in my opinion, taking both things into consideration, he's playing better than Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark is below him, and he looks like he's sitting somewhere around on pass rush win rate, under 8%. And then that's, below the average line across the league. And then he's below the average line on run stop rate as well. All right. So when you look at those two metrics, pass rush win rate, run stop rate, that would suggest Devontae White is hands down your best defensive lineman. TJ Slayton, in my opinion, has been your second best. Now, keep in mind, TJ Slayton hasn't gotten near as many snaps, right? And I wish I'd have been a little more prepared. I was going to try to get some TJ Slayton tape here, and I may have screwed up. Rather than go third down, I'm going to go, since it's saying that his pass rush rate is above the average line, let's just go with, and he's got limited snaps. I'm going to change this and go to not just third down, but we're going to go to all passing plays that he's been. Oh, that's a bunch, though. Woo-wee. That is a bunch. We ain't going to have time for all that. Yeah, let's go third, and let's go second and see if that filters some out. There you go. So it'll be third. Actually, you can just go one. So we'll just go third. Third down. Give me just a second. I want to make sure I get this lined up correctly. And I think we got him in there. Let's see. TJ Slayton to Daryl Slayton. Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we got a few more. All right. Good deal. And I think that is passing play, if I remember correctly. Yeah, okay, cool. So we'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to, seeing that TJ's a little higher on this list than I expected him, wanted to be able to key in on that too. So let's dive into it. You want to? Let's kind of see what we got here. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Let's start with Kenny, and let's kind of see what it is we're experiencing with Kenny Clark. And I'm going to give you guys a full description of what we're looking at here, okay? Let me get my camera on. Okay, so TJ Slayton, what this is, Kenny Clark, what this is this is over at NFL Pro, obviously. And these snaps are third down snaps, passing plays for Kenny Clark. All right. And we're going to try to use the end zone where it applies. This is a 3rd and 15 play. This is the Xavier McKinney interception. That was Tampa 2. Let's watch Kenny here. And we're going to try to go through these quick because there's a bunch. So what you've seen was he was basically in on that specific play. He's in what we call 4-eye, inside shoulder of the right tackle here. Okay. So he's in a 4-eye. Let's see. He gets double teamed, center and guard. All right. Now notice too how he rushed the quarterback. That's probably not considered a pass rush win, right? Now, some people say they remove the double teams. Okay, that if they do that for all of them, great. All right. But here you see, watch, he's engaged. And notice how he's kind of dropping back, getting his hand up. He's looking for Hurts to potentially scramble there. He's not pinning his ears back and trying to beat that double team. That stuff's important. That's very important when you're critiquing players. All right. Now, this is obviously a negative play. As you guys can see, this is Kenny Clark against the Eagles. And you're going to notice here on this play, kind of a 4-eye look as well. Now, it looks like you've actually got TJ Slayton playing nose here, right? And they're in kind of they're still in their nickel. They're definitely in their nickel defense here. But watch Kenny Clark on this play. All right, jumped early. That is going to be a penalty. Now, keep in mind, even though he jumped early, it was a just singled up block, right? So he was single blocked and he pushed the pocket. Notice TJ Slayton was the one being double teamed there. That's important to take into account too. Let's move on to the next play. All right, so this right here, this play is 3rd and 8. All right, so this is a 3rd and 8 play against the Eagles. And let's see how this one unfolds. Let's find Kenny and see if we can go to the end zone cam. All right, so Kenny on this play, it looks like he's actually playing, kind of hard to tell here with the numbers. Yeah, so he's playing nose right here. I mean, he's in the 1 tech. They're also firing a backer. So let's see. Is he double teamed? What did Kenny do there? Kenny drops into coverage. Boy, Joe Barry would have got raked over the calls. So they've got Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt both dropping into coverage on that play. All right, so there's another snap. So when these people say, no, that's not the case, it's nothing to do with scheme, these guys just suck, keep that in mind. All right, there's plays like this as well. It's a part of the snap. And that takes, just like a running back, that takes players out of rhythm too. Again, I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here and show you all the snaps, all right? All right, here's the next play we got. This is Eagles game as well, and the situation is 3rd and 2. So this is a 3rd and 2 play, all right? Let's see where Kenny's lined up. It's him and Wyatt on the field. Let's go end zone. It won't let us. All right, so we don't have the end zone. To me, this looks like it's probably a 2-eye tech. He's over the guard. Let's see if he gets doubled or not. He gets doubled. All right, play action. He gets doubled, pressed over. You can tell he's kind of playing run there, right? They ran a play action on 3rd and 2. Not really pinning his ears back and going, right? It almost looks like he's playing like with a 2-gap technique here, right? He controlled the A gap. Now he's controlling the B gap in case it was a run. And people go, well, the running back didn't have the ball. Kind of hard to tell when you got 600 pounds of offensive linemen blocking you, right? You can't see the ball carrier all the time. So you got to kind of play and fill the play. So there's that. Let's go on to the Colts game here. And you guys know Anthony Richardson is a very mobile quarterback. I imagine you're going to see him play a little more conservative in this game as well. Let's see what the situation is. 3rd and 7. This is an obvious passing down, right? Here's Kenny. He's playing I would definitely call this a 3-tech. All right, so he's in between the guard and the tackle. Ball snapped. Look at this. What do you got here, guys? You got a TT stunt. So you see Wyatt is going to cross Kenny's face. He engages with the guard, and then he drifts over. And look at Kenny. Notice how he's not going after the quarterback. That's not a pass rush move. If he was going after the quarterback on this play, he's ripping. Punch right there. You're ripping and you're hitting this gap. So why did Kenny pull up right there? He's watching the quarterback. He's watching Anthony Richardson and making sure he can't escape the pocket, not to run, but to create secondary windows to throw the football. That's what I'm seeing right there. I could be wrong. All right, let's go on to the next play. It's still the Colts. And this play here is a 3rd and 8 play. All right, 3rd and 8 for the Colts. And they're at the Packers like 19-yard line. Where's Kenny at? Here's a box cam. Got another 3-tech. Could be considered 4-eye inside shoulder of the tackle over the right tackle, but they're playing kind of that split front where both of them are attacking. Both Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark are attacking the B gap of the offensive line. Let's see what happens. Kenny, double team. Now look what Kenny did there. Did Kenny go after the quarterback? He engages, they double team him, and what's he do? He bounces back. And look, he's looking to take this outside rush lane. Now, luckily, Anthony Richardson rose to the left, and we said that should be the game plan, is to force him left. You can see it worked right there on 3rd down. So another play where Kenny's not just splitting the gap, not just necessarily, I mean, it's technically a 1 gap because it is a TT stunt and he's going to the outside, but it's not just you need to get off the ball and get after the quarterback. You can tell they're setting up the game plans in a much different way to make sure these quarterbacks don't create secondary throwing windows, things like that, right? So just something you got to take into consideration. I know the people that are in love with the analytics, well, his pass rush win rate, his pressure percentage, his snaps. We remove the muddy water of double teams. You can't remove everything with those analytics. You can't. You know, it's like some people are saying Preston Smith's getting double teamed more than Rashawn Gary. That's the biggest crock of crap. We do a lot of ET and TE stunts. Well, guess what happens on those stunts? It's manufactured as the end smashes in, which is what Preston has been doing. Not every snap, but a significant amount. Guess what he's doing? His job within the scheme is attack the inside shoulder of the tackle and take him into the guard. You're generating a double team to free up a single for the defensive tackle to loop, right? So those things, that's important. Well, man, they have more respect for Preston Smith than they do Rashawn Gary. No, bub. Jeff Hafley called an ET stunt there. That's what that is. That's why the double team happened. That's why it's important not to just – the stats are important, don't get me wrong. But you got to take into consideration, watch the tape. That all the answers to everything is on the tape. And I love how those people who are just obsessed with stats, their immediate argument is always, I know the tape guys said this and the tape guys said that. And it's like, am I the only one that thinks that sounds absolutely silly? That you're using the fact that someone is actually watching what's going on from multiple angles and multiple repetitions. You're somehow saying that's a negative thing because you've got a spreadsheet showing what the analytics show. It's literally like saying, I hear rain on the roof. Yeah, the analytics said it isn't raining, but I can look outside and see that it is. No, it doesn't matter. That ain't what the analytics say. I mean, they could have it wrong, but that ain't what they say. It's like, come on. Both are important. Both are important. That's all I'm saying. So, all right, next play. This is against the Colts. And I didn't want to show all of these, but it is important to understand exactly what's happening. Here's a 3rd and 1 play. Could be a run, right? 4th quarter, 2:25 left. Where do they got Kenny? They've got Kenny lining up in a 3-tech, outside shoulder of the guard right here. Okay, let's see what happens. Ball snapped. What did he do? TT stunt. Now think about this. TT stunt. He crosses the guard, engages with the center, and smacks the left guard as well. Now, okay, well, who's at fault, Clayton? If he's running the TT and he's sacrificing himself, remember when Matt LaFleur said that? Sometimes you do some sacrificing in the pass rush with the game plan. This is what we're talking about. People think it just means don't get after the quarterback. Let's make sure he doesn't scramble. There's like 3 or 4 different reasons why, maybe even more than that Matt LaFleur would make a comment like that and Jeff Hafley would make a comment like that. It could be the running game, which we seen against Minnesota. You could tell that they were doing run stunts up front, in my opinion. So again, the other thing to take into consideration, look how quick the ball gets out, guys. Right? Like in this case, it didn't, and he decides to roll left. But imagine if he throws that ball. There would be people upset right now. If he throws it on that first hitch, there'd be people upset right now going, oh my God, we can't hit home. Like, you expect them to get there in like less than 2 seconds? And that's the other thing. We can go to Next Gen Stats and look at the fastest sacks. Matter of fact, I'm going to do it real quick. I'm not going to pull it up on screen, but I want to know to kind of give you an idea, because I've heard some people say 2.5 seconds. That's what this metric said at, 2.5 seconds. All right. When it's set at 2.5 seconds, how often does someone get a sack in 2.5 seconds? Oh, looky here. We have the numbers. This year, the fastest sack, okay, from the time the ball was snapped to the time the defender sacked the quarterback, 2.43 seconds. The 3rd fastest sack in the entire National Football League this year is 2.51 seconds. And you're setting your metric to everything that's over 2.5 seconds, they should hit home. That's crazy. It should be closer to probably, 3 seconds, 2.8, something like that. And even that to me is a stretch. Kingsley Enagbare is 8th on this list. He's got the 8th fastest recorded sack from the time the ball was snapped to the time he hit the quarterback, right? The 8th fastest in the NFL, it was 2.8 seconds. And some people were setting their metrics on 2.5 seconds. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it's important to take that stuff into consideration too. But again, right here, what you have is a TT stunt. He does his job, and now he's kind of being double teamed and holding up for that middle gap to make sure that he couldn't scramble in the middle. Now, the big negative right here is Mr. Double Team, okay? The people that are saying, oh, Preston Smith's getting double teamed. He's in a single block. Let's look at how he rushes. Let's just take a quick gander at Preston Smith. I know we're keen on Kenny, but watch Preston. Outside shoulder. What did he do? He didn't just go after the QB, did he? He showed a fake rip and then immediately shifted back inside, and he's not pressing upfield because he knows that they've got 7 in coverage and they want him to throw the football. They don't want to let him scramble. And then when he ends up scrambling left, he still beats him on the outside, right? So that's another perfect example of him getting out of the pocket. They tried to prevent it and just couldn't succeed. Nobody's saying this defensive front is playing good. We're not saying that. We're simply showing why the pressures may be down. Okay. You guys get kind of an idea there of what's going on. Now, this was a huge play in the Vikings game. Let's just show it. And you guys know the result. We talked about it a lot. It was the very first play on Chalk Talk because I feel like it was one of the more important plays of the game. 3rd and 14, they convert for 31 yards to Naylor. Okay. So when we look at this, let's see where Kenny's at first of all. Kenny is playing over right tackle. He's going to be playing outside shoulder of the tackle. Okay. Now let's watch the pass rush here. They got the overload we talk about. And then on the other side, you got Preston Smith by himself. Watch Kenny. First of all, watch Gary. Gary gets chipped. The tackle completely ignores Kenny, right? And then goes, Gary beats the tight end. Then he beats the tackle and gets a hand in the face of the quarterback. But still, the ball comes out. And the real problem here is the separation of Eric Stokes getting absolutely cooked by Naylor, of all people, right? And again, that was cover one man. We won't rehash that. Let's take it back now and watch Kenny. What was Kenny's assignment here? Okay, on this specific play, and again, this is a 3rd and 14 play. If his assignment was just go get after the quarterback, which is what a lot of casual fans are suggesting that's what's happening, watch what Kenny does. He would just take the tackle fans out. He would take the outside shoulder of 62. I think we would all agree that would get the job done here. But what's Kenny doing? He's running a TT stunt, right? He's trying to loop around the other defensive tackle, gets caught up in the muddy water. Now, why did he do that? Why did he run that? That was a play call, obviously, right? But you'll notice here he kind of pulls up too, like, all right, what's the quarterback doing? He's not really getting after the QB. He sacrificed himself. What did Matt LaFleur say? There's a lot of sacrificing going on when it comes to the pass rush. People don't want to hear that. They immediately shift to Matt LaFleur's making excuses for the players. It's on the tape. It's on the tape. You can see it, right? That's going to do it for hour one. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour two. We appreciate y'all. All right, so let's keep it moving. We just want to show that play because that was I really would just about say, other than the interceptions that Jay Love threw, that's one of the more important plays of that entire game. There was that, because if you stop them on that 3rd and 14, man, it's a whole different ball game, right? All right, let's see here. Let's go on to, this is the 3rd and 8 play. It falls incomplete. Let's see what they're asking Kenny to do here. All right, let's go end zone if we can. All right, where's Kenny? Another overload. They ran a lot more overload than I remember seeing. That's wild. Pretty sure this is Kenny right here. I think he is in the game. Let's make sure. Yes, he is. All right, Kenny is in on this play. Let's take it back for y'all. Sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure. So here we go, 3rd and 8. Actually, it reset. Darn it. Where's that? No, yeah, we're good. 3rd and 8. Okay, yeah, there you go. 3rd and 8. And this is an incomplete pass left to Powell. All right, so Kenny right here is playing a 2-eye tech. He's on the inside shoulder of the guard, okay? On the overload side, for those of you on the pod, that means you got 3 pass rushers on one side, 1 on the other. They moved Gary around. They actually put Gary on the right side of this play. All right, let's key in on Kenny and see what his assignment is. Ball snap, double team. TT stunt. What's he doing here? He engages with both the center and the guard, and he fans left and allows Wyatt to come through, right? That was the play there. Now, what happened on this stunt? Remember last year we were talking about Wyatt he's a wrecking ball, man. He can rush the quarterback, but you see him get into other people's rush lanes. On this stunt right here, one of 2 things have happened, okay? He gets way too far out wide, and he actually comes over and smacks Gary. Now, who's getting pressure on the quarterback? It's actually Preston Smith. So as he comes in, he beats a chip and then beats his guy and gets pressure in the face. But again, when you look at Gary's assignment, Gary's in a wide 9, and why do they have him engage and then fan to the inside? Right? Everybody's got their own rush lane. That was his rush lane. One of these 2 players made a mistake here, right? I feel like Wyatt got way too wide. Usually TTs, the way they're ran is Kenny engages. You got to stay narrow here because you know Gary's working the inside rush there as well. And you can see some of the coverage just kind of rolled to the right here to that side. They want him to throw to that side. Pressure from the backside, throw to his left is what they were going for. One of the keys to our game plan last week, too, just noticed that. So, again, you got guys just running into each other. But Kenny, we're criticizing Kenny, and what was this? It was a TT stunt where he sacrificed himself once again, right? So, there you go. Somebody said it looked like that might have been later. I'm sorry. I thought somebody said, yeah, looks like Brooks got pushed into Kenny on his loop around. I don't think that was Brooks. You've got Preston Smith, you got Wyatt, you got Kenny. Kenny's running the TT. You see he's sacrificing himself. Wyatt's going to loop around. He should be a lot skinnier than this and take on that single block. Now you've generated multiple single blocks. You got Preston Smith on the other side. So that's what happened. You're probably talking about the play earlier if you're on a delay. I bet you were. I apologize. So, again, Kenny Clark taking on a double team in a TT stunt. Let's see what else we got down here. If there's any others we want to hit on Vikings-wise. Let's see. Here's Sam Darnold to Jordan Addison for 25 yards. This is a 3rd and 10 play. This can't happen. And once again, Eric Stokes in coverage sucks. But let's go to the box cam. Let's look at the pass rush. Here we're mugging, right? And again, this is a 25-yard gain. Jordan Addison. Is this the one we got the penalty on too? Am I thinking right? What quarter is this? This is first quarter, huh? All right, let's see. First quarter, 3rd and 10, blah, blah, blah. Minnesota touchdown, Addison, jet sweep. Nope. Here it is. Yeah, 29-yarder. It's the second play on Chalk Talk. Is it a 29? No, 25-yarder. I wrote it down wrong here. So at Green Bay's 29, at their own 29. Now, this is a different play. Never mind. They got everything all out of whack to a certain extent. All right. Nonetheless, this is 3rd and 10, and this is a 25-yard gain to Jordan Addison. I was trying to find out my notes, but I don't want to give you guys too much dead air here. So we're mugging the A. It's called double A gap mug. It's called double barrel. What that means is you got both linebackers mugging the A gap. The goal here is, whether you're blitzing or not, is to occupy those interior offensive linemen to create one-on-one matchups on the edge. And again, it's a 3rd and 10 play. You got to hit home here, right? You got Rashawn Gary, wide 9. I'm not sure which lineman this is. Okay, here's Kenny. Kenny is playing a straight-up 4-tech over here. All right. You got wide on the other side playing a 4-tech, maybe a 4-eye. And you got wide 9 opposite that, Preston Smith. Obviously, you got Edgerrin Cooper and Quay mugging the A-gap. You see they're changing the protection. They seen something. They shifted that back to the left. Let's watch Kenny. See what he does on this 3rd and 10 play. Ball snapped, double team. TE stunt. So what you got with the TE is Kenny's going to engage with the guard and the tackle, and Gary is going to loop inside for the TE stunt. Right? Gary gets too far out right here. So you kind of want on these TE stunts to take that inside shoulder maybe. I guess they are kind of using leverage too, the momentum of the offensive line, fanning from one side to the other. But he tries to do like a swat and swim, almost clears, doesn't matter. Look how quick the ball gets out. I'm eager to see what's the time to throw here. Y'all help me here. I'm going to pause it when the ball's snapped, because it feels like the ball just came out really quick. This may not even be on the pass rush. All right, ball snapped, right, at 10 seconds. 2, 1,000, 3. No, it's well over 3. You got to hit home. Got to hit home. Well over 3 seconds. And again, Stokes on coverage for the completion. So to sum that up, on that specific play, Kenny is taking on another double team in the TE stunt. Gary can't hit home. The center picks him up, right? And then on the other side, what did they? They muddied up the water with some stunts too, didn't they? Let's watch Wyatt and Preston Smith. Yep, TE stunt. God, they keep hitting each other on these TEs and TT stunts. That's the biggest issue I'm noticing with pass rush. So, yeah. Again, that was a huge play, too much time. When you go to these top of pass rushes, think about this. It was double A gap mug, and they dropped both backers out, didn't they? Am I thinking right? Or did they blitz? Yeah, they dropped them both out, which I'm cool with the play call. Imagine if you just did a straight rush instead of stunts here. Probably going to get after the quarterback quicker. So maybe the answer to the equation or the question is less stunts. Teams are looking for it. Vikings picked it up really, really well. There's no doubt about it, man. Yeah, Adam Block with the question. Andy Herman mentioned Stokes is not a starting corner. Do you agree? I hate to be negative, Adam, but yes, I completely agree. We talked about it the last 2 years. And I know he got hurt last year, and I got raked over the coals because I mentioned before he got hurt, he was grading out in the 50s. You can see it all over the tape. He can't find the ball. He's supposed to be a man cover corner. He's not good at covering man. It's a miss. It's another first-round miss by Goot. It is what it is. Hurts me to say it. I'm a big Goot fan, but it's another miss, man. No two ways about it. So earlier in the year, you had a little more confidence in Stokes because he showed a game or two where he's playing well, and then we were all like, whoa, Carrington Valentine was on pace to get more snaps than Stokes. I think we're seeing why now, right? They got way more footage in practice than we have here. I guarantee you that. So this isn't news to them. It's obvious that's what they were doing, you know. So let's see what Brambo says. They're not attacking the linemen, and the stunts are not even a problem passing off. Amen, Brambo. That's where the true issue lies. The issues aren't Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary have forgot how to rush the quarterback. The issues is you're using too much, you're wasting too much horizontal energy in what should be a vertical attack. That makes sense. So that's what I'm seeing on tape. There we go. Professor Cakes. Jair and Carrington are number 1 and number 2 corners on this team, in my opinion. And listen, you guys know I'm a Kentucky fan. I'm always going to say it. I'm not hating on Carrington. That's not a good thing that Carrington Valentine is one of your starting corners. It's not. It's just not. I think he's above average. He's better than Stokes. I think we're getting to that point where I know at least I'm coming to the realization. Maybe you guys have been there a lot longer. I'm slow to the party, but it does feel like he's a better corner than Stokes. I still just don't know if that's the answer there. And you guys know I talked a lot about tier of importance when it comes to positions. Like corner is not at the top of the list for me. You got to get pressure on the quarterback and you got to stop the run. You do that with a 3-tech and a 9-tech, and you have those guys work in unison together. But right now, this is what we're talking about. It doesn't have to be a scrambling quarterback for you to step back and go, the scheme is the reason that we're not as aggressive up front. When we say aggressive up front, we're talking about splitting one gap and go, right? Let's just go. It's supposed to be a fast-paced one gap. That's not what they're doing. They're running a whole bunch of stunts. So now, when you turn them loose on one gaps, there are negatives to that aspect. In this situation right here, though, man, I mean, it's a 3rd and 10 play. I'm not overly concerned with Darnold. I love the coverage. I have no problem with the coverage other than, our boy gets beat like a drum. But then again, let's go to the sideline cam on this. I didn't have this planned, but let's see what the coverage is on this play. I should have it broke down. I know it's here somewhere. I don't have the coverage listed. It would be on Chalk Talk. So let's see if we can recognize it. Again, they're going to run kind of a slant underneath with the number 1 up here. Let's see what Stokes does here. They went to a bunch set and nobody followed. To me, this looks like it's zone on the surface. Obviously, the backers are dropping out, so it's some kind of zone. Maybe a cover 6, ball snapped. All right, so it's Tampa 2. You see Quay flip his hips. And with Tampa 2, what you do is, and I like Tampa 2. I think it's a good defense. There's a lot of mistakes to be made in Tampa 2. So he's got the 3 read here. If that 3 goes vert, he's got the seam. There it goes, right? And what that does is clear out this mid-level here. So you're in Tampa 2. Boys, I hate to say it, but that's just a good play call. You could say it's a bad play call on Hafley's part, but, I mean, seriously, to me it looks like they probably had a choice route involved. Let me explain what I'm trying to say here. Stokes's job here is to cover short curl, kind of play these sticks on the outside. His job is not inside here, okay? Quay's covering the seam, right? So what's this guy's job, right? He bites underneath around the sticks. Yeah, the problem here is there's just too much time to throw in the pocket. That's the real issue, right? The only way you can combat that is 2-man under with inside trail technique, or you could go with a true cover 2 where you've got an extra body there. Instead of Quay going down the seam, Quay would sit right here, right in this area, and look for work. And I don't know if he even makes that play because it is kind of out of his zone, although this defender knows it's almost like a match principle that he knows Quay has got to follow the 3 down the seam. So he needs to kind of play a little matchy here and take that number 2 underneath. So that's a tough look there. All right. So, again, just wanted to hit on some of those from Kenny because I know what a lot of the conversation's been around him. Let's see. I had another one keyed up. Remember, let's go back to the graph here. Let me drop this comment down real quick. If we go back to the chart, rather, TJ Slaton and Devontae Wyatt, right? They're the next best players, are actually the top 2 defensive linemen. So let's start with Devontae Wyatt. And we got a few of his snaps. I think I went 3rd down on him. Actually, there's no reason to. There's no reason to hit on Devontae Wyatt at the moment. Let's go TJ Slaton. We just got 2 snaps on 3rd down, right? Actually, no, we broke it down a little bit further, I believe. Yeah, we got a few more snaps. So these are passing situations for our boy TJ Slaton because, again, the chart's kind of showing that TJ Slaton's playing better than Kenny. Now, we showed you all the double teams, right? So here's the play to A.J. Brown for 67 yards. Yeah, this was the cover 1 man that Ja gets cooked by A.J. Here's TJ. He's going to be playing a 2-eye tech, so he's kind of playing closer to nose than Kenny. He occupies the double team. Kenny singled up. Kenny gets Just absolutely dipped. That's on Kenny there, man. That's a bad rep, real bad rep right there. And you see TJ's holding up at the point of attack. I wonder if when TJ Slaton's in the game, I wonder if Kenny gets more single blocks. Right here you see TJ again, okay? TJ over here playing a 2 tech, maybe a straight up 2. Let's see if he gets doubled or Kenny gets doubled or both. Kenny gets doubled. TJ does not win his rep. Not a great rep there. All right, let's move it along. Here's the Colts game. This is a 2nd and 7 play. This is Anthony Richardson gets, looks like a fumble, -5 yards is what it's saying. Let's see if we can identify where TJ Slaton's at. TJ Slaton playing nose. He's in a 1 tech right here. Possibly a 2. I'd call it a 1. What's he doing? Just a single rush, but kind of outside. That looked to me like that was kind of a contained rush. TJ Slaton kind of getting out here and getting eyes on the quarterback and making sure he doesn't scramble type thing. Now, who gets to the quarterback here? Let's watch it again. Ball snap, single block. Okay, he just bobbled the snap. So, yeah. All right, that's what it was. Got it. That makes sense now. So, again, there, TJ, you're seeing in a 1 tech. So, he's definitely playing nose when he's on the field. There's no two ways about that. Here is a 4th and 4 play where TJ's on the field. Take a quick look at where he's lining up. Looks like this is him right here. So, again, here he's in a 3 tech. Let's see if he gets doubled. Outside rush. Ball dropped. All right, got it. Just trying to get a grab real quick at TJ Slaton because he did pop up on that chart. All right, TJ here looks like a 1 tech. I think that's him in the 1 tech. Yeah, him and Carl Brooks. Man, he really pushed the pocket there. That's a good rep, right? Pretty sure that was him. Yeah, look at TJ. Big rear end, my man. 2 tech. Going to take on a double team. Watch him push the pocket. Actually, it was a single block. Okay, they pulled. Yeah, he ended up getting double. A little crack there. But pressure on the quarterback. I don't know if it was considered a pressure, but you've seen he really disrupted the pass. And he was the closest one to the quarterback, I should say. So, TJ not looking too bad, man. Not looking too bad. Let's see if there's anything else. These are 1st and 10 plays. So you're seeing a lot of first down snaps for TJ for sure. Look, 1st and 10, 1st and 10, 2nd and 2, 1st and 10, 1st and 10, 1st and 10, 4th and 4, 1st and 10, 1st and 10, 2nd and 7. So you don't see him on 3rd down hardly at all. And that might be another reason why this looks so good with the chart. If he's playing in 1st down and he's pass rush win rate, that could have something to do with it. And Kenny is really getting double teamed a lot and running a lot of those TT stunts more on 3rd down. He's on the field every down for the most part. I know he's not getting all the snaps, don't get me wrong, but just interesting to kind of take a look at that. But the way it sits right now, pass rush win rate, based off what we looked at on tape here, if we hadn't showed you this chart where Kenny is the quote-unquote worst defensive tackle of these defensive tackles we have on our team in Devontae Wyatt, TJ Slaton, Kenny Clark, would you think that Kenny is the worst? Because I don't come away feeling like that. I come away feeling like, man, they're using him a lot on these TTs, and he is sacrificing himself like LaFleur was talking about. Again, that was over a, 3 to 4 game saturation we watched those snaps. So it wasn't just like one game plan. It's obvious that's what they're doing with him. So it kind of feels like the problem should be with the scheme rather than Kenny. That's how I'm seeing it right now. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know. After watching that tape there, we took a quick look at it. How do you feel about Kenny Clark in this pass rush? Like, do you see what I'm saying with the TT stunts, or am I just being too gracious towards Kenny in this situation here? How do y'all feel about it in the chat? Let me know. Make a little note here. If there's anything else y'all want to talk about here on this Saturday morning, we're just a little over 24 hours away from kickoff, man. I'm excited for this game against the Rams. I think it could be a get-right game, but it could also be a trap game. There's no two ways about that. So we gotta keep that in check, take that into consideration, and make sure that you don't walk into a buzzsaw out there. That would absolutely suck, right? I see what Prince said. Judging by what they did roster-wise with Ford and low snap count, I don't think Slaton is in their plans past this year. Only guy on the roster I think they would shop for a pick at the trade deadline. So you kind of think they might be getting rid of TJ Slaton. Okay, got it. I'm not saying I agree with you, but got that out there. Greg Rice, who are the wide receivers that spent time with Love working out? It's Romeo Doubs. right? Romeo Doubs and Love have been working out together since before Dobbs was in the league. To my understanding, Dobbs' personal coach that he was working with actually was Jordan Love's personal coach. So they got a lot of workout time even before Dobbs was drafted to the Packers. I'm glad you bring that up because I don't think there's trouble there between Love and Dobbs. I don't think it's that. I think it's more from just the game plan itself. And again, I'm not saying it's the case, but a whole lot of boundary X run and go routes the last couple of years. It might have something to do with it, man. Might have something to do with it. Nick McSwain in the chat said, is it better to run in 11 or 12 personnel? 11 brings out a lighter defense, right? That's correct. I personally like running out of 11 than 12. That's just me, Nick. One of the things that I was really hesitant on embracing in Matt LaFleur's offense when we hired him was, man, I don't like you muddying up those running lanes with 12 personnel. And, and the reason being is you got tighter splits, you got tighter sets with the tight ends being attached, whether it's a balanced look or a tray look. But also you play with nasty splits. And like you said, you're triggering a heavier defense. But, man, we had some success running the football out of those sets. So I had to go zip it. LaFleur knows way more than me, and it's working. But me personally, I like 11, and I like wider splits. Again, that's why I was kind of hesitant on Matt LaFleur's offense. The passing concepts he used, we talk about dagger, we talk about slot cross, we talk about wolf, cab, all those things that LaFleur likes to run, wrap. Really love the passing concepts. I would just like them more if you were spreading the defense out more. But, man, the reality is they're cooking. We got a top 10 offense, right? It's not the offense, other than the turnovers, the offense isn't the problem, right? The problem is hitting home with the pass rush and turning the ball over. You're getting turnovers. Obviously, we're leading the league in turnovers still, I believe. But, but when you look at explosives, Packers are leading the league in explosive plays. And let's see, let me drop this down. Again, answer your question, Nick, I think 11, me personally, but Matt LaFleur seems to lean towards 12 to run out of, if I remember correctly. So when it comes to explosive running plays, you can't argue with it and what he's doing. Baltimore is leading the league with 25 explosives. That's running plays with 10 yards or more, okay? Packers are second with 21. Overall, they still lead the league in explosive plays with 38. San Francisco with 34. Baltimore Ravens with 33. Indianapolis Colts with 32, which is wild to think about because the Colts are fourth in the league in explosive plays, and we held them to 10 points, right? This defense isn't horrible. It's not like, oh, we're doomed. Just got to get a couple of these things cleaned up, That's what it's going to come down to. So, Greg Rice, ouch. That's a bitter pill for him then talking about Dobby. I agree, because you spent all this time working out with him, and now all of a sudden you're getting – it sounds like, and again, speculation, he might be getting passed up on the depth chart by Dontavion Wicks. Who knows? Maybe Bo Melton too. They're like, hey, look, we want to utilize Bo a little bit more this week. That could have been the case, right? Let's see what Omer says here. Why target Wicks over Dobbs? He's got a point for sure, and this week's game plan probably not feature him in his homecoming, which likely push him over the edge is my bet. That's a good point too. Going back to Cali. Some of y'all got that. It's kind of like Jair again, right? Jair wanted to be a captain because they were going home to North Carolina playing the Panthers. Maybe that kind of got Dobbs upset. Like, man, I'm not going to be as much a focal point, and I'm going home to L.A. Could be. Sounds silly, but I hope it's that rather than a mental health issue, to be honest with you. Just because, first and foremost, the person, not the player. The person is more important, right? All right, let's see. Greg Rice says, I really want to see 22 personnel when everyone's healthy. Man, that's very, very rare in the league for sure. Omer says, Tucker Kraft, likely big game this week. Don't think Musgrave's going to play. Jacobs, Kraft, Reed, Love, week 5, throwing out some numbers. Jacobs for 100, Kraft for 100. Dang, Reed for 100, Love with 300. I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. I do think that our boy Tucker Kraft will be a big part of the game plan. I was breaking down some of the tendencies and looking at those yesterday, and I might be able to get them up here for you guys real quick, and let's talk about that when we go tendencies across the league. Might be a little bit tricky getting this to set up properly. Give me just a second. This is usually when I tell the guys to say something smart, right? So here's the offensive tendency chart. So if Tucker Kraft is to get involved, right? Let's just look at, since you threw out some numbers there, Omer, let's look at some defensive tendencies, okay? And let's go EPA, just overview, right? And let's filter it down here and go, let's see, how do we go? Pretty sure we could go team, right? Maybe we can't on this, just overview. Refinement, no. Season, no. There was a chart or a place where you could do the team, and now I'm not seeing it. Let's go personnel tendency on defense. Here we go. Bang. Let's go LA Rams. All right, give me just a second. Okay, here we go. So let's go EPA. EPA per pass. All right. And they don't have an EPA. This is what we were talking about just now for whoever said 22. It's so rare. You don't even have enough data to come up with statistics for 22 and 23. So this is, if I'm understanding this correctly, the LA Rams defense, okay? And this is their EPA per pass against specific personnel, all right? Obviously, the lower the number, the better, all right? So with that being said, they are only allowing 0.28 EPA per pass when facing 11 personnel. They're allowing 0.3 EPA per pass when facing 21 personnel, which we don't run a whole lot of. And they're allowing 0.54 EPA per pass against 12 personnel. So their weakest defense against the pass from a schematic standpoint would suggest 12 personnel. Now, the problem is Musgrave's hurt, right? So do you trust Ben Sims enough to play more 12 personnel this year, right? So, again, that's expected points added against the pass, if I'm understanding correctly. So that's interesting. That's an interesting kind of viewpoint there. If we go formation tendency real quick, and let's just go Rams, LA Rams formation tendency. Let's see what we come up with here in EPA and all that stuff. Okay, so formationally, most people you hear us say formation, we'll say dubs, we'll say trips, we'll say tray, right? What they do it is they do it by a number by a number. When you hear me say dubs, that's really a 2x2 set. When you hear me say tray, that's a 3x1 set, and the 3 side having the tight end. When you hear me say nub, that means tight end is the only one on one side. That's a 1x3 or a 3x1 set. And all 3 targets on that side of the field is actually wide receivers. So let's go to EPA rank. All right. Dead last in 3x1 sets. So when you go trips or tray left, they're last in EPA ranking is what it's suggesting here. Okay. And it can get a little tricky because I'm pretty sure, yeah, EPA lower the number. That's interesting. We may have it backwards there. I'd have to get clarification on whether or not the EPA is actually flipped to the defensive side or if you're talking about the EPA allowed type thing. But when you do go tendency, though, you can kind of get an idea of rate rank or rate percentage, I should say. The Rams have faced more 2x2 sets than any other formation in the league. 2x2, 33% of the time they're facing 2x2 sets. So that's what offensive coordinators are seeing on tape that they want to attack with. Then it's a trips or tray left. Then it's a 1x2. So that's kind of your, like we talked about, your 12 sets, your 21 sets, but you got 2 targets to one side as opposed to the other side being 1. And then you got a 1x3 at 13.1%. So that would suggest 2x2, 12 personnel, I believe. It's kind of how I'm looking at that. Hopefully that makes sense. But there you go. Just want to look at a few tendencies there. So he could have a big game, Omer. I know that secondary is pretty beat up, right? And when I say beat up, not necessarily from an injury standpoint, it's more so from they're young, inexperienced. They're just not that talented, but you can't overlook them. There's no two ways about that. You get caught peeking, you're going to get burned, no doubt. So let's see what else we got here in the chat real quick. Brambo says Ben Sims going to feast. When we seen Ben Sims last year, man, I'll tell you, Ben Sims last year impressed me. It was limited snaps, but the The dude did everything you asked him to do. I think he got a touchdown pass. Was it the last year or the year before? I can't remember how many years he's been on the roster, but it never seems like the situation's too big for him. And it's very rare that you catch him like out of place, like, oh man, he blew that assignment. He blew that blocking assignment. He seems to have a pretty good grab of the playbook. And he's obviously one of those high RAS guys, if I remember correctly, right? So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Maybe they see what we're talking about here with Kraft and put a little bit extra focus on him. You come out in 12 2x2 sets and attack with Sims, you might have some opportunities there for sure. Yeah. So there you go with that. I'm trying to think, is there anything else we need to hit on? We kind of touched on a little bit of this the other day, but let's hit it again real quick. We talked about explosives. Let's talk about the coverages that the Rams are running the most. So the Rams are running cover 3 zone large majority of the time, 39% of their defensive snaps. And look at their EPA per drop back here is 0.31 is how much they're allowing. All right, 0.31. And let's see if that actually matched up over there. Let's see here. Give me just a second, guys. I want to see here. So 30th, yeah. So that is EPA allowed on that other side. I'm pretty sure that's matching up there. So cover 3 zone is what they run the majority of the time, 39% of the snaps. Then second most it's tied is cover 6, which is half cover 2, half cover 4, right? And then tied with that is 18% cover 1 man. All right. So they're in a middle field close a lot. I mean, they're in middle field close 50% of the time, over 50% of the time, middle field close. Let's see what that is. 57% of the time they're middle field closed. Actually, probably 59% when you include that cover 0, which is typically box loaded. There's nobody deep. So, yeah. And then when it comes to man coverage, actually they run cover 2 zone 10% of the time. So cover 3, the way you attack cover 3 is, like when you're attacking cover 2, you're attacking the seam and the hole. So you're looking for bunker and base, meaning seam, and then 10 to 15 yards along the sideline. When you're attacking cover 3, you want to run a lot, press into running, and you want to run a lot of like flood concepts and spacing concepts, because really the way that you beat a heavy zone defense is you are flooding that zone with multiple routes, right? So I could see that mid-level, that midline, if you will, maybe a little dagger with some slot cross. I could see that dig either hitting the big play if they get too matchy on the outside with the corners, especially on like a vert route or a post off the opposite side of the slot cross. Might have some big plays for Jaden Reed in the slot, running it that way. And then, of course, if they do cover that up and they're not playing matchy, then you got that dig underneath. And who knows, you might take a shot or two to Bo Melton deep. That could be the case too. But that's what they're running there. Now, coverages that they've seen, so their defense has seen the most of these coverages. The Rams are definitely in the bottom half as far as EPA per drop back allowed. They're at 0.03, positive 0.03, which is a negative thing, like we say. Let's see, offensive coverage is seen. So I'm sorry, this is them on offense. I apologize. Their EPA per dropback is 0.03. The coverages they've seen the most is cover 3, 33% of the time, cover 1, 21% of the time, okay? And then it's cover 4, 18% of the time. So we might see, if they notice that on the game plan, I hope this isn't the case, but Jeff Hafley might press into some cover 1 man this week. You guys know how I feel about that. I would much rather them sit in cover 3 and maybe play a little match out of it and make these receivers beat your corners. Now, listen, we don't have the best corners in the league if Ja doesn't play. Hopefully Ja does play, right? That makes a world of difference. But that worries me a little bit. Don't feel like you have to run cover 1 man just because they faced it 26% of the time and they've struggled with it. Because Sean McVay is one of the best play callers in the game. Obviously, he was the youngest coach to win a Super Bowl, youngest coach to make it to 2 Super Bowls. You guys know how I feel about him. I'm not one of these people that thinks he's overrated for sure. That's just not me. Looking at the injury report again, just a quick refresher as we get set for tomorrow. Out is Devontae Wyatt. He's the only one listed as out. Doubtful is Romeo Dobbs for the reasons we've talked about, and Christian Watson because of the ankle injury. So that's really the only thing you're concerned with there as far as like doubtful. Now you've got questionable, a ton of those. Jair Alexander is still questionable. I'm telling you, the practice footage I've seen, I'd be very surprised if Jair Alexander doesn't play this week. That's just me. I could be wrong, but Edgerrin Cooper, that's kind of a toss-up. I wouldn't mind. This might be the week we see a little Tyron Hopper if Coop can't go. You know, who knows? You may go with a little bit of that rotation, and I don't mean he's going to start over Eric Wilson or McDuffie in the base. That's not what I'm saying at all. But they do have that rotation that you've seen sometimes. These guys like Eric Wilson will get thrown into the rotation a little bit. It's almost like he's been surpassed now by Edgerrin Cooper. If Edgerrin Cooper don't play, Eric Wilson probably will get the bulk of those snaps, I would imagine. And they'll bend it around to fit everybody's strength. It doesn't necessarily mean Eric Wilson is replacing Edgerrin Cooper in that base 4-3, but just something to keep an eye on there for sure. But yeah, questionable there was Edgerrin Cooper. Again, Elton Jenkins questionable. I think he'll be good to go. Jonathan Ford questionable with the calf. Jordan Morgan questionable. You guys know how I feel. Let Sean Ryan start. He's kind of hitting his stride. Let's hope that continues. Musgrave, I would be surprised if he plays. I think he'll be out. Carrington Valentine questionable. He's limited all week. Let's hope he can play. But not if he's not 100%. If he's not 100%, that doesn't help us. That means he's just as bad as Eric Stokes. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. But it is what it is. So that being said, we're out of here, guys. Make sure I didn't miss any super chats. And now we're good. Okay. So appreciate everybody hanging out. We'll be back again tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time, most likely. I'll get the link up. You guys just keep your ear to the YouTube channel. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If you would, hit that like button for us. It helps more than you know. I've not been mentioning it here lately because it just feels awkward. I don't want to self-promote. I don't want to be like, hey, guys, go like my channel, go sub. But, man, when we don't mention it, I think some people just forget, and I do too. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I forget to hit the like button. It does help. So if you want to support the channel in any way, hit that like button. It helps more than you know. So appreciate everybody. We'll see you later on tonight, most likely, and we'll break down some more Packers-Rams. Hopefully we got a little bit better idea about Kenny Clark. That was the goal today, was just try to dive in and understand, all right, what's exactly happening. Guys, we showed you a 4-game saturation of passing plays, and Kenny has been sacrificing himself a whole lot. So let's be a little more patient, and if anything, it should make you question some of the analytics. It really should, because based off the footage we just seen, there should be minimal one-on-one snaps, and if there's a crap ton of snaps that's included there, saying he's not being double teamed, the tape kind of suggests otherwise. So just keep that in mind and put everything into perspective, right? Those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Pack Go.